So I'm joined now by Tom Grundy, who's the editor-in-chief and co-founder of Hong Kong Free Press. Tom, many thanks for speaking to us. Remind us of Lai's supposed crimes, which he denies.
Well, Jimmy Lai was arrested in the wake of the 2019 pro-democracy unrest. It was an apparently leaderless movement, but his Apple Daily, always wildly popular, was seen to be siding with the protesters. During his 156-day trial, he was accused of using his tabloid to lobby foreign nations to impose sanctions or blockades upon China and Hong Kong. And he was said to have incited hatred against the authorities with 161 op-eds that he wrote. Basically, he will now be 95 if he gets out in 2044. So although we're not seeing headlines about the maximum sentence, which is life, it does seem likely that he may die behind bars. He is, after all, in very poor health.
He's 78 years old, but he's also a British citizen. Does that make any difference?
It hasn't made any difference as far as I think local authorities are concerned. He is Chinese. He was born in Guangdong. He came over to the city as a child. He was a labourer in a textile factory before launching his own clothing chain. And from there, he worked himself up to launching, the Apple Daily. Keir Starmer, the UK PM, was making representations to Xi Jinping a couple of weeks ago, and many have urged for his release. But the fact is, it's obviously fallen on deaf ears. Although the UK is the one country we have seen in reaction actually put something out a bit more tangible in the wake of the sentencing. They've said that they're expanding a visa scheme for Hong Kongers so that thousands more can resettle in the UK.
And how have media organisations in Hong Kong responded to the verdict?
Well, look, going through the papers this morning, it's a celebratory mood among the establishment and the papers. Locally, I have seen no criticism. The leading South China Morning Post hailed the sentencing in their editorial this morning. State media certainly. I contacted the Hong Kong Journalists Association yesterday. They said they were not able to comment freely. The Foreign Correspondents Club also said they've got no comment at this time. So maybe, that speaks for itself.
We've seen around 10 outlets close and large numbers of journalists leave the city since 2020. Do you think this ruling will accelerate that exodus, or has it already reached a tipping point?
Well, look, for the press, the changes were already baked in. Nothing really changes. We knew where this was going years ago and took note. This is not the once freewheeling, city it was in terms of civil liberties and the press freedom hub it used to be among the region. Some international outlets, over the last 5-6 years of this national security era have voted with their feet. The Wall Street Journal, New York Times have uprooted some of their staff to the likes of Singapore, AFP downgrading its operations here. Because the fact is, long before this sentencing this week, we've seen 1,000 journalists out of work, outlets closing, editors jailed a couple of years ago for Stan News. So, more widely as well, Hong Kongers have seen this pan out in recent years, and examples have been made of people a lot closer to home than Jimmy, with jailings for, slogans, T-shirts, speech online, and over 60 civil society groups disappearing.
Now, as you say, Britain's expanding its visa scheme for Hong Kongers. Are we now looking at a future where Hong Kong journalism increasingly operates from exile rather than from the city itself?
Yeah, that's true. There are some based in the UK. They tend to be in Chinese. There are some in Taiwan as well. A lot of them are actually staffed by former Apple Daily staff, journalists, but you then are not really on the ground and able to speak to Hong Kongers or capture some of the nuance, and it can be argued, accuracy can suffer. We're constantly at Hong Kong Free Press, thinking about our situation on the ground here. But I feel, we are still able to go to the courts and bear witness, covering this trial from start to finish. We're able to go to the legislature, write the first draft of history, and turn up to press conferences and ask tough questions, as we did with the chief executive press conference this morning. So the pros outweigh the cons, I think, for us. But for others, they are able to do stories perhaps we aren't able to do, such as interviewing wanted dissidents, for instance.
Just tell us a little about that press conference this morning. What was said and what was asked?
Well, John Lee, city's leader, was justifying the sentences of Jimmy Lai, hailing it. And we also heard in the early hours that Beijing has passed down a white paper that basically laid out, recapped and hailed everything that Hong Kong has been doing in terms of this national security project, the thousands of bureaucrats, the millions of dollars involved, affirming the city's actions. Much to the pleasure of John Lee, who said that the document was a stern warning to traitors of the country and Hong Kong. It basically said, China has a fundamental responsibility for national security matters in the city, and that the government has been delivering solid results. And it did refer to the Lai case at one point, saying that it was an example of Hong Kong's judicial departments adjudicating impartially. But as we know, Jimmy was not able to have his first choice of lawyer. He did not face a jury. There was no bail, and the judges on the case were handpicked by the city's chief executive to try national security cases.
Tom Grundy speaking to us from Hong Kong. Thank you very much indeed. Now, still to come.